As mothers, there is often so much going on. It can be hard to pause and intentionally ask yourself how things are going. Is my day-to-day life reflecting what's important to me? What's working well, and what changes do I want to make? The new year offers us a clear moment to reflect on where we've been, release the things that are holding us back, and reclaim this life to ensure that we're spending time and energy on the things that we love. This is a time to let go of what's weighing you down and set intentions for the future. So let's start this new year on the right foot and take this moment to realign ourselves to our own values and move forward with intention. Welcome to Worthy Mother Podcast. I'm your host, Emily Hardy, a mom of two on a mission to help moms everywhere feel less alone. This is not a parenting podcast. Instead, it's a space for pushing back against societal expectations of perfection and embracing self-compassion in your motherhood journey. Let's get into it. Welcome to the final podcast episode of 2024. I know this is something so many of us say every year, but where the hell did 2024 go? I swear it feels like I blinked and the year has just flown by. Not sure how that happened, but here we are on the cusp of 2025, bringing in this new year. It has been 5 years since the world shut down due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Most of us have had a lot of transformation and change over that period of time. So many of us with young kids have really grown in that time as mothers. And it's just wild to look back on what we as a world have been through, but also what we as mothers have been through. Now, I am somebody who really likes to use the new year as a really intentional point to reflect on how things have been and also take a moment to look forward and not necessarily even really plan things out, but just set intentions for how I want to move forward with my life. And it's interesting, right? Because there's nothing really about the new year that is like, okay, this is the time we do this. Really, January 1st is just like any other day. And I think that's important to say, right? If there's some goal you have, the best time to start is now, whether that's January 1st or March 22nd or I don't know, October 3rd, right? Like it doesn't matter when you start these things. However, I've found that in the hustle and bustle of life, which is never more apparent than in the thick of motherhood, it can be really challenging to have intentional moments to stop and to reflect and to say, where do I want to be going with my life? Because we're just really in sort of autopilot all the time, getting through all the things, right? And so the new year can act as like this time on the calendar that represents a moment for reflection, a moment for resetting our intentions, and just taking that time to be so intentional. And so in this episode, my goal is to help you take a moment to reflect on your past, what's worked this past year, what hasn't, to release those things that are holding you back, and to reclaim what it is that you want from this life and move into the new year without all that crap that's holding you back, without everything that's weighing you down. And yes, it's not just as simple as, okay, we've written it all down and we're good to go. But something about the new year represents new beginnings, fresh starts. And it can be a good time to feel motivated to take action on your goals, to step forward with new intentions. It can be really powerful if we use this moment correctly. And importantly, this isn't going to be just about focusing on the new intention, but also looking back and reflecting and releasing those things that are weighing us down. That's really key because if we bring it all with us into the new intentions and the new goals, it can just be a lot. So we want to be intentional about how we're using this time to not only move forward, but also let go of the past, let go of those unnecessary burdens, and reclaim our time and our energy for the new year and what's to come. So the first piece there is reflecting. This end of the year, beginning of the new year is a fantastic time to take a look back on how the last year has been and really take account of what your accomplishments have been, what your successes have been, what there is to celebrate, and to also determine what it is you want to leave behind. So something that I really encourage you do, and this is something that I have done, is to just take a piece of paper and brain dump all of the things you have succeeded at this past year, all of the accomplishments you've had. And these do not have to be like, I won an award or I got a new job, I got a raise, right? They don't have to be these like big milestone things. It can literally just be, oh, we had this really fun weekend trip over the summer that was so much fun. Write that down. Or I made it through my first kid's first year of school, getting through kindergarten, and what a huge accomplishment that was. I learned so much about how to navigate the school system, how to make sure we get to school on time, right? Like all these things. It can also be a really good time if you did set an intention last year for the year. Like I every year set an intention with a word, and my intention for 2024 was the word fun. I wanted to have more fun in 2024. It was something that I wanted to be really intentional about cultivating in my life. And in my list, I actually wrote down all of the things that I actively did to bring more fun into my life. So I, at the beginning of the year, had signed up with a friend to do like a pole dance fitness class, and we would go every week and we'd get dinner after. We had so much fun. We did it for about 4 months, and it was so much fun to do. And it was a really intentional decision to bring fun into my life. And there's so many other little decisions I made. I went to a lot of like free live music with my kids over the summer. I've been going to a local trivia with family members every week. Like we have so much fun doing that. It's been something that brings me so much joy. So yes, there's maybe areas in that intention that I'd like to improve upon, but really celebrating the fact that like I went into the year with this intention to do things that brought me joy to have fun with. And there were things that I actively did to bring that fun to my life. That is something so worth celebrating. So, writing down everything that you can think of that you accomplished, big, small, medium, whatever it is, and also looking back on that intention and celebrating the ways in which you brought that intention into reality in 2024 is a great way to start reflecting, to start looking back and honoring the journey that you've had this past year. But we can't just stop there. We don't want to just stop with honoring what has happened this past year because we want to also give ourselves the opportunity to reflect on the things that are weighing us down, the things that are no longer serving us, so that we can move into 2025 with not only a new intention of what's to come, but an intention of what we don't want to take along with us. And I find for me, the best way to reflect on the past year and what I don't want to take along with me is to kind of identify feelings or maybe even situations that didn't feel so great, that maybe have a lot to do with mindset that I don't want to take with me into the future. So, a big one that a lot of moms may deal with is self-criticism. If you found that there was a lot of times over this past year that you were critical of yourself and maybe felt like you weren't doing enough, that kind of goes hand in hand with mom guilt. If you feel like maybe there was an opportunity for you to go away for a weekend and you decided to say no because you felt so guilty, but you slightly regretted that and you'd wish you would have had the opportunity to go spend a weekend with friends, but you just weren't sure how to handle that because of the mom guilt. Identify those situations, those feelings that maybe have kind of gone along with you throughout the year because we want to really reflect on it all, not just the good, also those pieces that are not so good, the things that we maybe wish were different. This period of reflection is so valuable. And I'm just going to say this, it's not something we just naturally do, most of us. So, getting really intentional, setting aside that time. I mean, literally setting aside 10 minutes to do all this, that's all you need. It can be really powerful to get to reflect on all of this and to just kind of lay it all out there. But as we prepare to move forward into the new year, we then want to focus on releasing. We want to let go of what is weighing us down and do our best not to bring that along with us into the new year. So when I say releasing what's weighing us down, I'm really talking about creating the mental and emotional space for new experiences, for new intention, for this positivity and authenticity we want in our lives. As moms, we tend to carry so much with us, whether that's the mental load of like everything we have to do, everything we have to take care of, or the emotional labor of just trying to keep everybody going, right? It's a lot. There's a lot that we carry with us as moms, and we can't necessarily let go of it all because the reality is we have these responsibilities and we care, right? But we don't have to carry it all with us And we want to look intentionally at what it is that we want to let go of. So I use the example of identifying in your reflection that maybe self-criticism kind of followed you along throughout the year. That's something that we may want to release in the new year. And I will say that coming up on the podcast, we have some episodes on some of these things that you may be hoping to release. We have an episode coming up just next week on letting go of people pleasing and perfectionism, followed by one about letting go of overwhelm and creating systems and routines that allow you to live more simply and in a more joy-filled life. And also an episode coming up about releasing mom guilt. So if any of those areas have felt like heavy burdens that you've been carrying through 2024 and you're ready to just release it all, we will have resources coming up on those. But this really can be anything. Anything that you've been carrying along with you that you want to release, identifying that is really important. And then taking the action to release that, which again, there will be some ideas of how you can start to release that coming up, depending on what it is that you are hoping to release. But just more generally, therapy can be a really great tool for this. Journaling can be a really great tool for this. Meditation, literally writing a list of what you want to release and crumpling it up and throwing it away, like some symbolic actions that you can take, can be really great in releasing what it is that you don't want to take with you anymore. And once we've released and let go of what is weighing us down, this is the time for reclaiming what it is that we do want in our lives, making space for that joy, making space for everything that we value and our priorities. This is our moment to set intentions for the new year. So I, every single year for the past few years, have set an intention with a single word. For me, capturing what I want the next year to represent in a single word can be really powerful in then kind of informing how I make decisions throughout the year. It gives me kind of a point to refer back to of like, my intention is to have more fun this year. My intention is to bring more simplicity to my life this year, right? Whatever the intention is, being able to look back on that intention and say, is the decision I'm making right now in line with that intention? You can totally choose to do that. Or if it doesn't really resonate with you, there are so many other ways that you can kind of identify what it is that you want to reclaim. Thinking about, okay, I want to spend more time on myself. Maybe that's a goal you have to engage in more self-care. That could be really specific of like what it is you want to do. I want to journal more. I want to go to the gym more. And this is how often I want to go. Like you could literally set resolutions. Again, I just prefer to set intentions that kind of act as that anchor when I'm making decisions and how I'm going forward in my life. I actually have an episode on the podcast from a couple years ago about setting intentions with a single word. I will go ahead and link that in the show notes of this episode if you want to hear more about my process in doing that. And I also on Instagram am going to be sharing more about my intention for this year. So that will be shared on Instagram. Won't get too much into it, but this idea of setting intentions is so powerful. It can be really, really helpful in moving forward intentionally, right? And making sure that you are taking actions on things that are actually fulfilling in your life. And I think one of the biggest pieces here in reclaiming the things that we want in our life is to reclaim our energy, reclaim our time, reclaim our space. As moms, again, it can be really hard to prioritize ourselves. We have so many things demanding our attention, our energy, our time all the time. And so really focusing on how can I bring more energy, more time, more space to the things that are important to me, not just the laundry and the meetings at work and the this and that and this and that. How can I bring more time and energy and space to the things that I truly need and want? My own self-care, connecting with my family, enjoying the things that I enjoy to do, right? How can I bring more of that into my life? And when you ask yourself that question, you're not just going to have an answer. This is something we constantly talk about here on the podcast. But when you can pause and look at what's going on in your life and identify those things that you want to reclaim in that energy, in that time, in that space, can make such a huge difference than when you're deciding how to fill your schedule, when you're deciding what to say yes or no to. So taking the moment to really get clear on it is so, so valuable, so important. Now, I want to remind you that this does not have to happen right now. This does not have to be something that, I had to have this figured out by the end of the year to start the new year on the right foot. Otherwise, I'm screwed. too bad, it's done. I'm gonna have to wait till next year. No. But if you can find the time, if you can find it in you to take this moment to pause, to reflect, release, and reclaim, right now, there's no better time than right now. Like, it is such a symbolic moment at the new year to do this. And you might as well do it right now. You're hearing this right now. So why not take the steps to just kind of align yourself and get intentional with how you're going to move forward starting in this new year? And remember, it's okay to start small. This isn't like about changing your life in 2025 completely. Like, it's not like, okay, don't like the way it looked in 2024, gonna completely shift it and do something different in 2025. That's not what I'm saying. It's just about setting the intention so as you walk forward in life, you can have this guide for how to make your decisions and hopefully be making decisions that feel more in alignment with what you want and get you to that life that feels really good. I'm going to close out by just saying thank you so much for being here. I cannot believe this podcast was started in 2022 and we are now on the cusp of 2025. It is just a dream come true to get to be having these conversations with you week after week. I hope that you can look back on 2024 with some amount of fondness, right? Like, I know this year was a hard year for a lot of people, and maybe not for you. I know for me it was a challenging year, but there's so much that I'm grateful for in this past year, and there is so much that I am so ready to leave behind. So I hope that you have just a fantastic new year. I hope that there's something in here, some tip in here that can help you move forward into 2025 with intention. And I just want to say thank you for being here. If you would like to celebrate with me a little bit, it would be absolutely incredible for you to leave a 5-star rating and review for the podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. That is something that means so much to me personally, but also helps anybody who finds the show know if it's something that they should tune into. And, there's a lot of work that goes into this content, into these conversations to really help moms live their best lives, live the lives that feel good to them. And so I want more and more moms listening to this. So if you would be so kind as to do that, it would mean the world to me. Again, thank you for being here. I will see you next year. You are worthy, mama.